Hey, Coach Reeves here, and I'm going to show you how to solve absolute value inequalities. Before we get started, let me remind you or teach you a few things. All right, first of all, we remember from the last time, absolute value is always positive. Non-negotiable again. No matter what, absolute value will always be a positive number. All right, so now we have to ask ourselves, what kind of numbers are less than 0? Well, here's 0 on my number line. If we're less than 0, what kind of number are we going to be? You're going to be a negative number. If you're less than 0, you're going to be negative. Can absolute value be a negative number? No. So then, can absolute value be less than 0? Because if I'm less than 0, what's less than 0? That would mean that I am a negative number. Is this possible? Can this guy, it says you're going to be less than 0, can this guy be a negative number? No. That would be a no solution situation. What it would look like. Absolute value of x is less than 0. There's not a single number that I can put here that would work, because to be less than 0, you have to be a negative number. Or another situation would be, this is no solution. Another situation is x plus 2 is less than or equal to negative 10. That's already a negative number. If you're less than negative 10, you're still going to be a negative number. So that means this still would be a no solution, because whether you're less than 0, which makes you negative, or less than a negative, which makes you even more negative, this would also be a no solution. So our goal, just like the other problems on absolute value, you need to get the absolute value by itself and then see what's on the right-hand side to see if it's a workable problem or if it's a no solution. Okay? Let's do a couple examples so we can figure out what's going on. So we have our problem. Remember how we solved an absolute value equation? We needed to get absolute value by itself. Is there anything in the front? No. Is there anything behind it? No. So my absolute value is by itself. Is my absolute, it says it's going to be bigger than a positive 3. So this is a workable problem, okay? Now, if you remember on your absolute value equations, if it's a workable problem, we work it two ways. We work it two ways now. The first time, you're going to copy it just like you see it. You're going to say 2 plus k is greater than or equal to 3. Now, what did we do also when we solved the equations? The second time around, when we worked it two ways, we took the opposite. Okay? And taking the opposite is kind of like multiplying times negative 1. And I don't know if you remember your inequality rules, but if you multiply by a negative, we're going to ask you to flip your symbol, your inequality symbol, and flip it the other way. So since we're going to take the opposite the second time, we're also going to have to flip this symbol. And so this would look like this. 2 plus k. The second time, we're going to flip our symbol and also take the opposite. So this is the tricky part. If you can get it set up, then you're going to be fine because you're smart. But the first time, you copy it just the way you see it. The second time, I need you to flip your symbol. Please be careful. And I need you to change the sign. You need to change it just like you did last time. Okay? Now let's work the problem. We're going to go minus 2, k is going to be greater than or equal to a 1. The setup is the hard part. The math is the easy part. Minus 2, k is going to be less than or equal to a negative 5. That's not hard. That's not hard. Now, we're just going to solve these today. Tomorrow, you'll have another video. We're going to talk about graphing them on a number line. All right? But as of now, we know that k is bigger than 1 or k is less than 5. We're going to say that's an or when our answer is. Okay? Not bad. But you have to remember to flip your symbol and also take the opposite. Let's try another example. Is my absolute value by itself? Obviously not, because I have a 5 underneath. So how do we get rid of the 5 underneath? To move the 5 underneath, I'm going to multiply times 5, right? To undo division, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do multiplication. So we're going to multiply over here also. These 5s are going to cancel. That's the whole reason. That leaves me with the absolute value of v plus 9 is less than 5 times 5 is 25. Absolute value is by itself. Is this a workable problem? Yes. We will work it 2 ways. First time, copy it like you see it. V plus 9 is less than 25. Now this is good because it's going to be pretty simple. We copy it. Now what are we going to do? V plus 9. Flip your symbol. Flip this inequality symbol, point it the other way, and do what? Take the opposite. And the opposite of 25 is a negative 25. That's the hard part. Now we do the easy part. We do the math. Minus 9, v is going to be less than 16. Minus 9, that is telling me that v is going to be greater than negative 26. We're going to be bigger than negative 26. We're going to be less than 16. And the best way to write that is, because it's in between those two, and we'll talk more about this because it's easier when we do this on a number line, but you could write this, we could put this as an and, okay? Well, we could say that, we could put the v is in the middle, and we're going to say that we are going to be greater than negative 26, and we're going to be less than 16. When the v is in the middle, or your variable's in the middle, it's going to be an and. So we're saying we're going to be less than 16, greater than negative 26. But this will be easier when we do tomorrow's worksheet because we're going to put it on the number line. But the main thing is you know how to set it up and do the math right now. Okay? Let's try one more example because this is not bad. All right, my absolute value is not by itself. So don't make a decision. All of a sudden you say, oh, there it is. That's a no solution. It's going to be less than a negative number. Absolute value is not by itself. You cannot make a decision yet. So we're going to get my absolute value by itself, we're going to divide by negative 4. We're going to divide by negative 4. This will cancel. That's going to leave me with 7x plus 6 is less than or equal to, hang on a second. Do you remember the rules? What are the rules about dividing both sides by a negative or multiplying both sides by a negative? What is the rule with your inequality symbol? Well, the rule is if you divide both sides by a negative, you need to flip your inequality symbol the other way. So since we're dividing by a negative, this is going to turn around and point the other way. We have to flip our symbol and point it the other way. What is a negative divided by a negative? A positive. 80 divided by 4 is 20. So what looked like it was going to be a no solution situation. But once I divided by a negative, we ended up with a positive number. This is a workable problem. So we're going to work it two ways. First time, 7x plus 6 greater than or equal to 20. Second time, 7x plus 6. We have to flip our symbol and take the opposite. We're going to flip the symbol and take the opposite. Now we're just going to do the math. We're going to do the easy part. Easy part says minus 6 minus 6. 7x is greater than or equal to 14. Divide by 7, divide by 7. X is greater than or equal to the number 2. Minus 6 cancels. I get 7x is less than or equal to negative 26. Divide by 7, divide by 7. I get x is less than or equal to negative 26 over 7. Those are my two answers. I'm going to be less than negative 27, because that means I'm getting smaller. I'm going to be bigger than 2, so I'm getting bigger. So this would be an or situation. But just like we talked about earlier, this will be easier when we talk about it on a number line. And once we show it on a number line tomorrow, you're going to say, oh, okay, makes sense. All right, so there's only 14 problems on the page. I did 3 of them. They're not hard. Shouldn't take you that long, but what is the number one thing? Get your absolute value by itself before you make a decision. And remember the rules. If you divide or multiply by a negative, you got to flip your symbol the other way. You understand that, okay? All right, give it a shot. Work the rest of the problems on the page, see what you can do, all right? If you have any questions, contact your teacher, contact me, and we can help you. Good luck.